Do you know the way to get is give? Someone says, no, that's crooked. No, it's not. Why do I want to get? So I can give. That's the reason. There's nothing wrong with saying, Lord, I'm going to give this knowing that this is what you want me to do. And God, I believe by virtue of living in obedience to what you want me to do, you are going to give back and meet the needs that I have. It's the way it works. It's the way it always works. It really is. When Pastor was talking about the offering tonight, all I could think of in my heart was, dear Lord, would you meet the needs of these people? Lord, I don't know what their needs are. And I'm being as honest with you as I can be. I was not one bit concerned about what may come or what couldn't come. My heart's burden was, God, these people have needs. I'm one person who has a need. These are multitudes of people who have needs. God, would you meet their needs tonight? I don't know what they are. Okay? Because that's loving your brother. It is. And it's what the Bible teaches. But whoso hath this world's good, and seeth his brother have need, and shutteth up his bowels of compassion from him, how dwelleth the love of God in him? But that's just a powerful verse. You know, don't say you love God if you have the ability to help meet someone's needs and do nothing about it. He goes on and talks also previous in this chapter, verse 12. Chapter 3, verse 12. It says, not as Cain, who was of that wicked one, and slew his brother. And wherefore slew he him? Because his own works were evil and his brother's righteous. So verse 12, again, talks about the matter of loving your brothers. Literally, this is a blood brother here. But I think the overall downfall was this. For Cain, he was jealous. You know, it's hard to love your brother. You see the blessings of God, or you see good things happening for him, and you become eaten up with jealousy. Man! Why him and not me? You know, good always happens to that person and it never happens to me. I don't know how you articulate these jealous thoughts or whatever, but they can so easily creep into our mind and they can become a part of our attitude and our personality towards someone else when we see good happening to someone else and we have a pity party. Why isn't it happening to me? That's not loving your brother. Rejoice with them that rejoice. When something good happens for someone else, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. And be joyous when God blesses another believer. And yet so often we don't. Somebody drives up to church in a new vehicle. Bet they went in debt to get that. You know, this has been a... yeah, they may have. This has been something that has just been convicting to me on numerous occasions. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Would I want you to be jealous and envious and angry with me if something good happened to me? No, not on your life. What would I long for you? What would my longing be as far as what your response would be? Good. Hey, thank the Lord, brother. That's great. Okay, then do the same thing to other people. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If I drove up in a new vehicle, I wouldn't want everybody mad and angry and thinking, I bet he went into debt or whatever, and whatever jealous thoughts can cross your mind. I'd want people to say, hey, thank the Lord. That's something he needed or whatever it might be. So look, when it comes to loving your brother, you don't need to be jealous when God does good things for them. You don't need to be envious of that. That's a dead-end road. It's so vain, it's so empty, it's so shallow, it's so immature. It's so out of fellowship with God. It really is. And yet many times that's how we respond to our brother. Look over at chapter 5, verse number 16. If any man see his brother sin a sin, so he's talking about Christians here because he uses the word brother, which is not unto death, he shall ask, and he shall give him life for them that sin not unto death. there is a sin unto death, I do not say that he shall pray for it. We're not going to get into the sin unto death part of this. However, what I think we're learning in verse number 16 is this. You know, many times Christians sin. You ever known any that have messed up? And some of them mess up real good. Big time, if we can word it that way. Here you have someone in the church or someone that you know who's a believer, and in their walk with the Lord, they have a terrible fall, they have a terrible stumble, and they get in all kinds of trouble because of sin in their life. You know what we're good at doing as believers? Kicking them when they're down. Well, we're good at that. I'm not shocked. I saw it coming. If you ask me, the guy deserves it. We're mean. We're unkind. Now, nobody's talking about excusing sin. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying, okay? But you know what a believer needs who's fallen into sin? He needs a brother that'll love him. It's exactly what he... Now, loving isn't covering up sin. Loving isn't justifying their sin. But a brother who will say to them, look, what you did was wrong, but I'm telling you, God's forgiveness is wonderful. Why don't you get back on track? I'll help you if you're ready. How do you respond when a believer falls? You know, I have seen this. In a couple weeks, we're going to be in a church, and I was just flabbergasted. I was talking with a gentleman after a service one time who, it was really a very difficult situation. He and his wife were separated, but his wife would come to church, and they would sit together at church, but they were going through a divorce process. My brain was hurting after hearing everything about it. And so he unfolded all this for me, and he talked about how close they were with people in the church and everything, and there was nothing he could do to talk to his wife to convince her that the divorce was wrong and that they shouldn't do it. There were children, da-da-da-da-da, so forth and so. But she just moved out, and she would have nothing to do, but she'd come to church, and it was just really weird. And so I said, well, what about your friends that you always did stuff with in the church? Because they were involved in the youth group, and you know, they had close friends, and those close friends were still in the church. I said, will your wife talk to any of them? And he said, none of them will even talk to us. None of them. It's like all of a sudden we have this terrible disease. Is it Ephesians? Galatians talks about ye which are spiritual. I think it's Galatians. No, Ephesians. Galatians 6. Okay. Ye which are spiritual. Ephesians 6 is the children. Galatians 6 is the ye which are spiritual. Restore such an one into fellowship. I'm not quoting that right, but the point is, it takes a spiritual believer. You know what it takes? It takes somebody who's walking in the light and who's right with God. Brother Dr. McClure and I were talking the other night, and we were talking about people who mess up in the ministry. You know, whenever I hear of that, my first thought is, Lord, please help me. Yeah. He that thinketh he standeth, take heed lest he fall. Oh, you can be pious. You can think you're some great spiritual giant, but you have feet of clay. There's a target on your back just as certain as the next guy. The time's going to come when you mess up. May not be some paramount, huge thing. It might be something small, but you're going to need a brother who will come alongside and say, hey, I'm here to help you. Not kick, not rub it in your face, not say, yeah, that's what you deserve. And so loving your brother involves being sympathetic, if we could use it that way, being willing, being spiritual is what the Bible says. Sometimes it's easy to not love, but God says you're supposed to.
That's right.
He does. Amen. Sometimes it's not easy to love, but God says you're supposed to. Look, remember a fellowship with them all the time. But I'm telling you, when they have a need, You need to be sensitive to God leading you to help me.